Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing, your go-to place for all things roofing. As the slogan says, integrity matters. They will be upright and straight with you. They contribute to charities. They do all the right things. Joe Spiker is my friend, and he's also an incredible businessman. I consumed part of the Royals playoff series in a suite that he had with various co-workers and suppliers, and that was really great fun. It's just part of the expansive and wide array of things that make Easton Roofing a great company and why you should use their services. And they, of course, are the sponsor of Kansas City Profiles, presented by Easton Roofing, which normally is about a person or an organization or something like that. Well, this time it kind of is about an organization, but it's about the Kansas City Royals and this year's Royals Renaissance, and it truly was that. The Royals were awful last year. They lost 106 games. They needed to win a game against the Yankees, ironically, in their last game of the year to avoid the most losses in franchise history. They did win that game, and ironically also, the last game of this season was against the New York Yankees, a 3-1 loss that ended their series at 3-1 in the divisional round after winning a postseason series, the first team to ever lose 100 games one year and win a postseason series the next year as they swept out the Baltimore Orioles. But of course, there are things to look at as to why it didn't completely work and why there's still work to be done in the future. The Royal Stars didn't show up for this one. We'll give you some numbers about that. But in the end, what this is about a renaissance, about a team that came out of the All-Star break, for instance, and won 10 out of 14 games, a team that was more than respectable, that had fine starting pitching, that had one of the baseball's best players and emerging stars in Bobby Witt Jr. No, he didn't have a great postseason. Their stars didn't have a great postseason, and that was part of the narrative in the postseason. But the fact that they were playing postseason baseball, they got 2 postseason home games, all of that is truly amazing. And maybe for the short term, it's possible that 2024 was a bit of a one-off. But I have real good faith in what I've seen out of J.J. Piccolo in his short tenure as general manager, that if they have to sort of fine-tune and maneuver, as they did during the course of this season, new closer, added bats. When you watch their lineups in this postseason, there was really a heavy emphasis on well-traveled veterans. They'll have to do something about that. But I think they have the wherewithal and the changes in the scouting organization, etc., to do that. But 2024 is the focus here, and what a wonderful Royal season it was, and it is. Our Kansas City Profile, presented by Easton Roofing, Royal Renaissance, the 2024 Kansas City Royals.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey Kansas City, Joe Spiker, Easton Roofing here. It's been a crazy weather year in Kansas City. You hear lots of ads for taking care of your storm damage. But if you didn't have storm damage, we're still here to help. If somebody talked you into filing a claim that was denied by your insurance, we're also here to help. Oftentimes, repairs are still needed. If you'd like a second opinion, give us a call. The consultation is always free and suggestions are built on integrity. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business to Kansas City's #1 variety podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you. Welcome back. The story of the 2024 Kansas City Royals ends up being an 86-76 record, a postseason victory in a sweep of the Baltimore Orioles, and a 3-1 games loss in the divisional series to the New York Yankees. Those things predicated basically by the fact that the Royals kind of stopped scoring runs late in the season. That was seen by us when we watched the team as a season-long problem, but in the context of the new baseball, which has been lower scoring over the last couple of years, the Royals, for most of the season, were among the top 5 scoring teams in all of baseball and right at the top in some offensive categories in the American League. It just didn't seem that way because they really were kind of a feast or famine type of team. They'd score a bunch of runs or they'd score almost no runs. But one thing they did was shake off something that has plagued them so much over the past few years, and that was horrendous starts. The Royals reeled off a long winning streak early in the season, and they got themselves off to a fine start at 9-4 on the year, and they really never looked back in general from the fact that they were going to be a pretty good team. And they did have their ups and downs. They had a couple of 7-game losing streaks. They had a 7-game losing streak late in the season. But in the end, they did enough things right, led by their pitching staff, which was remarkably healthy this year. They had 3 starters make over 30 starts and another one make in the high 20s. And then Alec Marsh, who was their 5th starter, made 25 starts. So that kind of health you just don't see around baseball. That was good fortune. They had a truly remarkable breakout season from Bobby Witt Jr. He was amazing this year, and if not for another majestic season by Aaron Judge, and both players struggled in the postseason, he would be the American League MVP, and you can make odds that he indeed is a sharp candidate to do that in the future. But this was a major step forward. He obviously was an emerging star with 30-30s and all that, but his OPS in 2023 was .813, which is just fine, but not spectacular. Well, he upped that to .977 this year. That was really part of the core of the offense that eventually was Pasquantino, Perez, and Witt. And, of course, Pasquantino was a great run producer, but eventually got hurt and bounced back for the postseason. But they needed that because the rest of their offense was pretty bad. Maikel Garcia got off to a fine start, but he ended up being just one of those guys. Royals ended up with having only 3 regular players or even semi-regular players with an OPS over 700, but their pitching, led by offseason acquisition Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, was at the core of the team, and for a while, Brady Singer was just as good as those two, although he faded late in the season. So it truly was amazing. I picked the Royals to win 73 games at the start of the season, and I did that, basically picked that number because I thought it was fair, or maybe being nice to not say that they would lose 90 games, but I did feel like I was at the outer edge of where I thought they would perform. I thought that I was sort of upping the ante a little bit or giving them a shake by saying that they would win 73 games. Well, they ended up winning 13 more than that. They go into Baltimore and win that playoff series, the wild card series, despite the fact that they only scored 3 runs in the series. And then they played the Yankees, and they played them tough. In the end, the Yankees only outscored the Royals by 2 runs in the series. The problem was the Royals only scored 12 runs in the series. They only scored 15 runs in the entire postseason in 6 games. So that was the biggest issue. But the games with the Yankees were tough and tight and taut. And they lost the first one, a seesaw game that featured more lead changes than any postseason game in modern history. And then they won a solid game in Game 2, lost a low-scoring game in Game 3, and then did it again, lost a low-scoring game in Game 4. It was 3-1. And the Royals just couldn't get anything going on offense. And closest they came, and we'll hear from Kyle Isbel, was a long fly by him in the 7th inning that had the right fielder up against the wall. Could have been a 2-run homer. Wasn't a 2-run homer. You know, people obviously lament sometimes Kauffman Stadium, but they don't lament it when the other team's hitting the ball to the warning track. So anyway, it was a 3-1 loss that concluded this fine season that Royals fans could be proud of. They showed up 80,000 plus strong in the 2 playoff games, and that certainly was another thing to cherish, although those fans didn't get true fantastic excitement in those 2 games. So it was an outstanding season with a bitter finish. And that was the message that manager Matt Quatroro was emphasizing after the game.
Frustration, disappointment, sadness. Feel really badly for those guys in the room because, as you know, and this is 7-8 months of the year that they just pour it all into it and give every ounce of effort and energy they have. They played the game the right way. They respected each other. They treated each other well. They treated the staff well. Really proud of what they've done, and it stings. But that's okay. It's okay to have it sting because this isn't where we want our season to end. This isn't what we hoped for when we started out. And I think that's okay to embrace it, that it doesn't feel very good.
I mean, at what point do you think you might get some perspective? I mean, you're coming off first 100-loss team to win a playoff series the next year. I mean, clearly the franchise took a big step forward this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
When do you think that the emotion, the gut punch of losing this game will go away and you'll be able to reflect and move forward?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that's not what I'm thinking about right now. I mean, I'm happy for the city. I'm happy for the organization that we did what we did this year. But, it doesn't matter what other people thought we were able to accomplish this year. Our guys had bigger expectations for themselves, and that's how you should approach this game. You don't come here thinking, I hope we get a little bit better. That's not how it works at the big league level. So I think it's okay that it sucks right now.
Just looking at the pitching staff, top to bottom, with Michael Walker and in the bullpen, what was your just overall thoughts on how they pitched today in a game of this magnitude?
They battled their butts off, man. I mean, they gave everything they had. We got guys that have thrown in every game of the postseason. We got guys that are coming in, putting it all on the line. We kept those guys to 3 runs the last 2 days. You got to tip your cap. They beat us, but it wasn't for lack of effort. It wasn't for lack of desire or any of that kind of stuff. They put it all out there.
What was your perspective of the situation in the bottom of the 6th between Michael and Volpe?
Yeah, I mean, Volpe had the ball, blocked the bag. Michael probably didn't care for that too much, and, it got a little chippy.
A couple things just about the game. The pitching, the rough beginning for Michael, and he really battled through that. What did he show you through that, getting through that first inning?
Same thing he's shown us all year, to be honest. I mean, that was 3 pitches into the game. It's 1-0, and he bowed his neck and went right after him. I mean, he doesn't back down from anybody, and why should he? He's been doing this a long time. He's got a lot of confidence in himself, and he showed it right there. He composed himself and got us some big outs.
The decision to go to Ursig early, just take us through that process of making that decision and how you guys came about that one.
Well, I mean, if there were, they had put 3 hits together. They had scored a second run. They're in the middle of their order with Soto, Judge, Stanton coming up. I felt like that was our best opportunity to keep the game where it was and try to give us the best opportunity to come back.
Can you talk about the difference between, I mean, you had, I don't know if you had more good swings, but you had certainly put Cole in more trouble in the previous start than this one. What did you see as the differences with?
I think his fastball was a little bit better today. He located it at the top of the zone, which, he's got 18, 20 inches of carry at 96, 7 miles an hour. That's a tough thing to get to. And I think that, to me, that was the biggest difference.
How much does it hurt that your starters weren't able to pitch in any of these games? I know it's the postseason, so they might have a little bit shorter of a leash, but just that was your strength all year, was pitching deep in the game.
Well, some of that's because I took them out, right? I mean, that doesn't mean they couldn't have done it. But like you just said, usually in the postseason, you're going to have a little shorter leash. Now, playing a team like this where the 2, 3, 4 hitters are who they are, there's a little more urgency in those situations. But by no means does that mean they could not have done it. But, yeah, so some of that's on me as well.
Isbel, did you think he had it when he sent Soto to the wall?
I was hopeful. I mean, that was he put a good swing on it. I had a good feeling going into that at bat, but unfortunately we were playing in Kaufman.
In the same vein of that one, just some of the swings tonight, MJ Melendez early on in the game, what was just the emotional ride and roller coaster as, he could potentially hit a home run as well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he got that ball. I mean, he hit it pretty, he squared it up, hit it straight up in the air. Bobby squared one up. Verdugo made a nice play on it. I mean, there were some swings in there, some good swings throughout, but clearly not enough to string things together against Cole. I mean, Tommy had a heck of a night at the plate.